Many of us are on an emotional roller coaster right now with everything going on right now. An emotional roller coaster that many of us did not sign up to be on. So, if you're an emotional roller coaster with your job and where you're living, this is a conversation for you if you are a Black woman. So, today we're going to be talking about toxic job, toxic environment, pivoting your career and your country. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been licensed for over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. If you have not already signed up for the waiting list for the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit, which is coming up this May, then please sign up to get on the waiting list for that. That is in the description section of this YouTube video. Also, if you are thinking, I'm on this emotional roller coaster and I want to get off, but I need to get my money straight, I need to figure out how to financially position myself to get out of this place, then you need to get the financial masterclass replay. We had the latest financial masterclass this past week. If you want to get the replay of that, that is also in the description section of this video. I will also have that going across the screen as well. So I'm excited to have Ulonda here with us today. You may notice that I'm on earlier today because Ulonda is in Spain, okay? So we want to make sure that we can accommodate her schedule. So Ulonda, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, thank you for joining. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Yolanda, and I am locating cozy. And as my thing falls down, and I made some drastic changes back in 2022 to improve my life. I didn't know. I had information leading up to it, and little drops of knowledge had been released to me over the years, and I didn't know that it was going to all culminate into a big drastic move that has greatly improved my life, and which included leaving that horrible, no good, toxic job.
That horrible, no good title. I usually say raggedy job, but I'm gonna start adding that part too. Horrible, no good job. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So before we end up talking about how you pivoted, not only from the job, but from the job, but also to the country, from a different country, can we talk about what was going on at that job that contributed to you pivoting from the job? So let's talk a little bit about that first.
So I've been working in accounts receivable for many, many years, and I love what I do. I was managing a team, completely a remote team, and for me, it's very fulfilling. I'm a researcher and resolver, and it was very fulfilling. Um, just over time, you go into jobs and you're in that honeymoon phase for a little bit, like, wow, this is really a great opportunity. I'm learning so much. And just little by little, the honeymoon phases just started getting shorter and shorter. So this job was wonderful because it was my first remote job. That was something that I had been aspiring to, didn't see it being possible, but I had always kind of dreamed of it, and it just kind of fell in my lap, and that situation turned into a completely remote opportunity. But people think that, oh, when you're working remote, oh, you're not really working. The thing is, especially in management, you tend to work even more. I hadn't set the boundaries. And I was just, and then, it was before the lockdown and everything, but I was so enjoying the freedom, but I was also working a lot. And because I was working so much and doing so much, they were expecting me to do even more. So I kind of set myself up a little bit on that. I fully acknowledge that. But it just started getting to the point where the expectations began to affect my health. It began to affect my physical and mental health, and to a degree that I was having even more anxiety attacks. I would be getting ready for what I felt was going to be a very good, positive meeting with upper management, and my blood pressure would still just skyrocket, even on a good day. Yes.
That's interesting. So okay, so why do you think it was that even though it was a good day, Why do you think it was that your blood pressure was spiking even during a good day?
Because I knew that during those meetings there would be a tendency to I could be patting myself on the back, and then it would sometimes be like at a drop of a dime being told that no, that's still not good enough. And maybe not in those flat out terms, but I would come with, because I had to report numbers, and I would come and be like, here's our numbers, here's where we are succeeding, here's some of the great pros, here where we still have some challenges that we're working through. And it just seemed like, what do they call that? It was just a bait and switch. It was still like, you just never knew if there was going to be a full like great, or a no, it still isn't good enough. So I'm going to still put you on the hot seat and make you just as uncomfortable as possible.
Okay,
And
so you're always on guard.
yeah, even when I'm like, again, so proud, like, oh my gosh, we accomplished this. They wanted these numbers, I accomplished this, and then it was still somewhere in the background that, you're like, oh, but they're still gonna come at you. Yeah. And
Okay.
another thing was that I noticed is the person that I reported to. I don't know if you can curse on here, but a little. Okay, so shit travel downstream. And so the person that I reported to, and then the person that he reported to, um, it was always coming down to me. And I had a hard line where I never let the shit travel downstream to the people that reported to me. And so with the buck stopping here with me, there was more pressure. Now, don't get me wrong, I had my expectations for my team. And if they were not performing to capacity, or excuse me, as expected, then I would have conversations with them, but I would never let whatever was coming downstream on me, I would never then take it out on them. That I can never do that and stuff. But I did have expectations and performance, KPIs and things like that. But
Right.
yeah, so I felt like maybe I was carrying up a lot. And I think that as I'm having these epiphanies right now as we're speaking,
Mhm. Mhm.
okay, that kind of also carried over in my personal life, as from childhood up, in personal levels, that sometimes we burden ourselves because I call it, for me, I was like, girl, now that I look back on it, I'm like, girl, you were really being the martyr. You really were. And then, so I'm glad that I've kind of stopped that now. Okay. But it's something that I recognize that it was something that I did not only in the personal, but also in my in my professional. And so that was I was allowing myself to carry this burden that was causing me to have um, um, certain mental and physical reactions that were not
Mhm.
good for me. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot I wanted to follow up on. Number one, you talked about that you were starting to experience these symptoms because you said you loved what you did. And I think a lot
Mhm.
of us, when we come into these jobs, we're mission driven. We love what we do. We are excited when we get the job. And so we overwork because we love what we do. And so
Yes.
people see it and they're like, oh, she loves what she does. And they pile more and more and more work on us, but we love what we do. So then we do it and we're doing a good job at it. And so then they kind of take advantage of that. And then
Yeah.
the other part that I heard you say was because you love what you did, they also kind of had you kind of dangling like the carrot, right? So like,
Hmm.
oh, not good enough. Oh, what? Like you're like kind of pulled back and forth, like you're jerking back and forth. Like they kind of always had you on guard. Like, am I good enough? Is it not good enough? Am I doing it? So always trying to figure out what to do. And then you are like managing a team on top of that.
Yep.
So you're dealing with what your supervisor's saying, but then you're also trying to shield your team from the nonsense that you're getting. So then
Hmm.
what I heard you say was, as you're talking right now, you're having some like Oprah aha moments, like,
Oh
oh,
yes. Oh yeah.
wait a minute, okay. So
It's
as
like,
I'm
girl, you were doing
talking,
too much.
right,
Okay.
I was doing too much. Yet I also am able to reflect on that was part of my own personal history about how I showed up in this job in a certain way because of my own personal history, right?
Yes.
In terms of
Yes.
like being the martyr. And I think a lot of us were brought up in a certain way, and then we come into these jobs and then we play out these personal roles and then it harms us. So I'm wondering something, Yolanda, as you were playing out, or you were, playing this role, right? Because that's how you were brought up to be. And then you were trying, it seemed like you were in some ways like a barrier. You were in some ways protecting your staff from some toxicity that was coming downstream.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So as you were protecting them, did that impact you in the sense of staying there in some regards? Or did you feel a sense of responsibility to protect your staff from this toxicity? Because I hear that a lot from Black women in leadership, like the sense of responsibility to protect their staff. I'm wondering if you experienced any of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So two things that kept me there longer than I should have was protecting my team.
Mm,
Um, um, because, I there was just things going on and protecting them because they didn't need to. I needed them to be at their peak.
mm,
And for them to be at their peak, I didn't feel it necessary to tear them down or feel like
mhm,
they're being constantly teared down. Now, don't get me
mhm.
wrong. The job was stressful for them too.
Right.
They had, yes. The other thing that kept me there longer than I should have was the income.
Of course, the golden handcuff.
Because that
Yeah.
was my first, yeah, the golden handcuff, because that was my
Uh-huh.
first, like almost six-figure job.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
and I went to college late in life. I was in my 40s when I went to college.
Hmm.
After my girls had all had gotten their degrees.
Mhm.
So to have that and to be out of survival mode, it's
Mm.
hard. And then on top of that, there was some stock options, and so when they did
It's
mergers
real
or so,
cushy.
yeah, so they're like, oh, we're going to be giving you this nice little bonus because we sold off part of our company. You're going to get it in 6 months, or it's coming in, so you're sticking around for that. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so all
Mhm.
of that, and you just get to a point where you're like, what are the reasons that you're staying, and is it really worth it? Because right now you feel like you're on the verge of, this is for me,
Okay.
uh of maybe a stroke or a heart attack, because your blood
Ooh.
pressure is not. I would just be sitting at my desk working, which does not happen anymore. I'd be sitting at my desk working and look down and my ankles were just swollen.
Ooh.
And I'm on medication. I'm already on high blood pressure medication. I'm like, what is happening here? It's like, yeah, my legs will be hurt. Yeah, all those things.
That was
And I'm like,
bad.
mm-hmm.
If you're already on high blood pressure medication and your ankles are swollen.
Yes, yes,
Ooh.
yes.
Okay.
And it's just so funny because, now, fast forward now, I could be at my sitting down working and doing things all day long and stuff and it does not happen anymore. So
Mhm.
it wasn't just, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was, high blood pressure and all that,
Mhm.
but also just getting out of that toxic work environment. I can still sit at my desk now or sit down and work all day, and I can look down and be like, yeah, your ankles ain't swollen. Oh
Right.
wow.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And that's what's so important for us as Black women, that we need to pay attention to our bodies and like
Hmm.
signs and symptoms. We need to be connected to our bodies and then to be able to identify, like, wait a minute, if there's a change in my body, what is contributing to what the change is, right? So let's look at the root cause. And you ever say, oh,
Hmm.
it was the stress of the job. So, Yolanda, you talked very clearly about, there are a lot of perks to this job, some financial perks, right?
Hmm.
So, but then it got to a point where you were saying, this job is really harming me. You were able to see the impact it was having on you. But we also know that leaving a job is not easy. Okay. And for many of us, leaving a job can be terrifying, terrifying, especially when you think about, like, right now, for many Black women right now, the thought of leaving a job is absolutely terrifying because you see all
Yes.
these Black women who've been laid off, and it's like, oh my God, what? I'm not going to leave this job, because how am I going to get another job? Right. So, can you talk to us about what was it like for you? Like when you came to the realization, like, this job is harming me, did you have any fears about leaving?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I do want to just back up and just say another side effect of this
Mhm.
job that I didn't even, again, I had my big epiphany about this just like maybe back in October. Now
Okay.
I left that place like back in 2022, but
Okay.
just in this past October was that I didn't realize that every time I talked to my daughter, my friends, whatever and stuff, I was always complaining about that job. That seemed to like be the ringleader in all my
That was your
conversations.
life. That was your life.
Yes. It
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it just took over. And I'm like, I didn't realize how unhealthy and how burdensome that is.
Yeah.
Every time you talk to your loved one, you're like, girl, let me tell you what happened today at this stupid job. Just yes, it's forever just embedded in every part of your life. And
Yeah.
that's not good. There
Yeah.
was no separation.
Exactly. It's like you become your job. So you talked about the impact it was having on you physically, the impact it was having on your mental health, but you talked about it spilling over to your personal life. So that's
Yeah.
all you talked about. And I've talked about, I don't think I was, I don't know where I was, but I was talking to somebody and I was mentioning to them about, I've talked to my Black women clients and therapy and coaching, but also for myself, I've talked about, I would talk about the job so much that everybody in my family knew the key players at my job. Like they knew about them
Yes.
all the time. And so every time they'd be like, oh, I got to see them. And I was like, oh God, we're going to talk about this again. Like they were sick of hearing about it. But I also recognized at a certain point that it was harming them to
Yeah.
to hear and to know what I was going through, right?
Yes.
Because they were
Yes.
hearing and knowing that I was being harmed and there was nothing they could do about it. Like they tried to talk to me, they tried to reassure me, but it was nothing they could do about it. And so that was harming them. And so then
Yes.
that was something I had to think about was, wait a minute, this is harming them because they feel like they're helpless, right? And they feel like
Hmm.
they're seeing me harmed every day, and that makes them feel like crap, right? And I'm a shell of a person at the end of a work day because
Yeah.
I'm so drained dealing with all this emotional mess every day, right? And then the other thing too, Yolanda, because you mentioned your daughters, I was just thinking about like for my children, like what was the model that I was representing for them?
Yeah.
So I was representing to them that I go into a job where people terrorize me and treat me like crap, and I should
Yep.
just stay there every day. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that wasn't the model that I wanted them to see of me, and I did not want them to think that that's what I wanted them to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there was a lot
Exactly.
of things I had to think about, and I want for Black women as they're watching this to also know when you're in a toxic job, it's not just you. It's not just you that's impacted. It's your family, it's your friends, it's anybody who cares about you. So I'm glad that you uplifted that issue.
Yes, yes. And in
Yeah.
all honesty, it was so funny because my daughters were the first ones that were like, you need to leave that job. You know, they were the first because, I would talk, especially my daughter that lives here in Spain. This is my youngest, I have three daughters, and my youngest one lives here in Spain. So we would talk like every single morning,
Mm,
because she was 7 hours ahead when I was still in
mhm,
Texas.
mhm.
And, it was constant, like, you really need to leave that job. But of course, for me, I was like, this is the best paying job. This is what I strive for. This is what we strive for. I've been working since I was 14 years old. You don't quit a
Mhm,
job. So it was just that was such a foreign thing that my girls, my
mhm.
grown children were telling me that I couldn't understand that. It couldn't even penetrate my brain to even think that I'm supposed to leave this job.
Well, okay, let's pause there for a moment. Let's pause there for a moment because I think that's a generational thing, right?
Mhm.
So, Yolanda, are you Gen X?
I don't know which one is which. So I was born in 1969. Girl.
Yes, you're Gen X. We're
Okay,
Gen
yeah.
X. We're Gen X, right? So your daughters are probably millennials, I'm thinking, maybe,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gen X, right? We were brought up because our baby boomer mothers, right? We were brought up, you get a job, you get a good job with good benefits, and you stay at that good job forever until you retire, right? That's how we were brought up. And you
Yeah.
do not leave a good job, right? So that is what I heard from you that do you know what we went through to get this job? Right. So she's
Yes.
telling you this, and you're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, even though you were experiencing all these symptoms, like it was inconceivable to you. Like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I know these things are happening. I know I'm calling you every day and complaining about it, but what are you talking about, leaders' jobs?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Black women feel the same way. And so that's why I appreciate that this channel, we're able to have these open conversations because I think a lot of us think the same way. And it's important
Hmm.
for us to identify how many of us think so we can really challenge these thoughts and understanding
Yes.
where these thoughts come from and say, wait a minute, that is irrational. It's irrational and it does not serve us. And there's another way to think, right? So when
Yes.
she's telling you this and she's like, no, mom, no, mom, there's another way, there's another way. You were like, what? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? So how did it come to the point where you were thinking, wait a minute, I do need to get out of here? How did that
So a couple of things
work?
happened.
Mhm.
One, it was 2022. In January 2022, my mother passed away, and my mother was that she worked at the same job forever. And I remember we would have conversations regularly, and she'd be telling me about the things that they expected for her to do and that she was doing and wasn't getting paid and all this stuff.
Mm.
And I will say that one thing I didn't believe in just up and quitting a job.
Mhm.
But I always did my own self assessment every like my annual assessment or every year or every 2 or 3 years, and be like, okay, do I want to stay? Now I would be looking for another job. I didn't believe in
Mhm.
staying at a job for 15, 20, 30 years. That's
Okay.
not me. But
Mhm.
I would always look for another job. But my mother passed away in January 2022,
Hmm.
and in all honesty, there was some ailments and things stuff, but I believe she worked herself to death.
Uh, you
That's
saw
that's
that.
yeah, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall for me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
girl, at the time, I was like, well, I don't know, 53, I don't know, but
Mhm.
I'm like, but you're feeling all of this, and I go to the doctor, but still, the doctor is just offering you more medication
Right.
and not
Right.
root
And
causing.
wait, can I say something right quick,
Sure.
right? Okay. That's the part I want us to pay attention to too, right? So many times we'll say, you cannot leave a good job, right? And I'm quoting Stephanie Perry, and I quote her all the
Hmm.
time about this. A job is not a good job if it's harming you, number one.
Hmm.
Number two, we will say, you can't leave a good job with good benefits. Yet, are you accessing these so called good benefits, the good healthcare benefits, because the job is making you sick? So,
Yeah.
what you're saying is that your mom was accessing those good benefits, right?
Hmm.
The stress of the job. We have to look at, okay, it's the stress of the job, the reason why you going to the doctor so much. So, the
Yeah.
medication is treating a symptom, but the source of the stress may be the job.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to just
Yes.
reinforce what you were saying. Yes.
So there was quite a few things that culminated over in 2022. My mom passing away. I had already started seeing a therapist. My therapist also was like, "You need to leave that job," and I was like, "Girl, what you talking about? No, what? Okay,
So your daughter, your therapist. Okay.
therapist,
Okay.
yeah." And so, with that, because I had been working remote since
Mhm.
2018,
Mhm.
during that time, of course, paying like almost $2,000 a month in rent, and this is just when I started like kind of looking into things. And I
Hmm.
was like, well, you're already working remote. Let's see what it might look like to bop around the US and
Hmm.
not pay no crazy rent anymore. That was just my whole thinking. So when I started doing the research, I think it was in August that I started doing research to get information. I had just had my knees were giving out. That was the other thing, stuff, and I just had a torn meniscus, and I just
Ooh.
had to like have some stuff done. Did like some plasma injections on my knees and all that stuff. So I was like walking like old lady style. Then I was only 50 in my early 50s, but I just felt my body just giving out in these different ways. But
Mhm.
anyways, I started doing some research when I was at home on recovery,
Mhm.
and I looked up. I just because I didn't know. I'd heard about people that had like been in Mexico, or like I knew some people that had moved to like Merida and all these things, and I
Mhm.
was like, but they. Again, the story was always, oh, well, they have all the financial resources. I don't have that.
Mhm.
I still got to
Okay.
work. I can't
Okay.
retire and stuff. So, anyways, I started doing the research. I looked on YouTube and just said, Black women remote or digital nomad Mexico. That's what I
Oh,
looked up, and that's when
okay.
I found Exodus Summit. That's when I found Stephanie Perry. That's when I
Okay.
found Rashida Doe and
Mhm.
Adelia Picky Girl Travels and all these
Mhm.
different women. And I was like that. I was like, oh, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Wait a minute,
No,
what
there's
what's
resources
happening?
there.
Yes. So it was just me going down that rabbit hole. And
Mhm.
again, at the time, I still thought I was taking my job. I was like, you can stick out with this job another year or two. You can do that. So I just thought I was just giving up my apartment and maybe just like living on the road or maybe going down to Mexico for a little bit or just bopping around the US. That's all I thought.
Okay.
But within a week of finding out about Exodus Summit, I got the ticket because I found out that there was an upcoming event. Again, their annual virtual event. And again, I thought that I was just going to get information to utilize what I wanted to do, what I planned to do. And one of them was talking about, because I was like, I can't do sabbaticals. I can't do none of that stuff. I'm not going to up and quit my job. Well, I attended
Uh-huh.
again with focused plans. And 2 days later, I was called into a last minute meeting. I reported the wonderful numbers for the month of October or for the month ending September. And I reported and I was like, okay, we're done. And then it was like, I had to get ready for some board meeting numbers and all that stuff. So they were
Mhm.
like, well, we still don't like these numbers. So we need to talk about these numbers some more. They called me into the meeting to dispute the validity of some of the numbers and how they could look better for the board. And I was in a meeting for 3 hours and 13 minutes.
Wow.
And at that point, I was downstairs in my lobby of the apartment that I was in because they had like the little work area. So I was in there and I was looking for my anxiety medication because I could feel the tension just rising up. I could
Woo.
just feel it. And so I said, I need to go upstairs because I realized that it wasn't in my bag. It was upstairs in my apartment. And I said, I need to go upstairs and get my medication. And they said, oh, okay. But before you hang up, let's go ahead and look at that number. Can you bring that spreadsheet up and let's go ahead and look at those numbers and look at the numbers from last year and this fiscal year? And I had to say, no, I got to go. And I just hung up. I got off the meeting. And at that point, I contacted my therapist and I said, I think it's time. And she said,
Wow.
okay. And then I contacted HR and I said, I need to go on leave. I can't work. And that's how it started. I had no clue that I was going to make such a big decision like that, but I felt like I was fighting for my life at that point.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
that's how it began. And I was like, I don't want to go. I wasn't looking for another job. There were some other factors behind in the background that happened that I didn't know about, a little extra funds that I had that was going to help me be okay for a few months.
Mhm.
Yeah, I found out about these funds like probably like maybe 6 months earlier, but I was like, well, you're not going to touch it. The
Mhm.
thing is this, and I was interviewed on some other channels a while ago and stuff, but I want to stress this.
Mhm.
We have the savings, we have our 401k, we have whatever the savings that you're saving for your old lady self doesn't do a damn bit of good if you're not there.
That's true.
Okay, so I had to make the decision to utilize the financial resources that were being saved for my old lady self, use them now to do what I can to make sure maybe I'm here in 20
Save
years
yourself.
to
Yeah.
take care of. Yeah, so I need to take care of myself now to take care of my old lady self later on.
Mhm.
And that's what
Make
I
sure your
chose
old
to
lady
do.
self will be there. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So Yolanda, what I heard you say was you're in this 3-hour basically interrogation session.
Hmm.
You could feel yourself like, I need some support. Like I need a break. I need a reprieve. And so you let them know I need a break, right? I need to go get my medication. And they told you, hold up, hold up. Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, but let's pull up
Yeah,
another spreadsheet, right? So
yeah,
no regard at all, right? And you were like, I'm done. Like this,
yeah,
I cannot do this anymore. And
yes,
then you were like, I'm done. And then you went on leave at that point?
yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what happened after you took a leave? What happened?
Well, the funny thing was, I had already that weekend. I was actually going to Spain for I think it was my granddaughter's, yeah, her first birthday. Yeah,
Okay.
so I was going to Spain, and again, I didn't know that I was going to like be like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I had my ticket and I went on leave. I submitted all the paperwork and I went to Spain and I could not sit still. I was like, you have to find another job now. You have to find it. You have to. I could not sit still. My daughter was like, you are okay. It was like, I call it she didn't physically do it, but it was like the mental, like tap your hand, like, stop that. Leave that computer alone. Stop looking for a job. Just sit still for a minute. I did not
What
know
was
how to
that
sit
frenzy
still.
about? What do you think that was about? What was that about?
It was the panic because we've been told we're not allowed to do this. I did something
Mhm,
that I wasn't allowed to do, but I didn't know that the information that I had just received from Exodus Summit
mhm.
was actually was the last bit of information that was like, okay, I didn't know that 2 days later, my ancestors were like, do it now, child. Okay. Walk
Mm.
away now. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And so you had to reprogram your brain to be able to
Hmm.
receive the information after the summit was sharing with you that you had options.
Yes.
So all the other time you were so defended with all the other information you had been programmed to receive, you couldn't even receive what after the summit was sharing with you.
Yeah.
Mhm,
I had my own agenda. I knew what I was going to do with this information. And I was open, thank goodness, I was open and receptive to first starting the research. I was open to little, like I said, little seeds of information and knowledge that was being placed in my line of view over the years. I
mhm,
just didn't know how it was all going to actually come together and be implemented.
mm, mhm, mhm. So,
Um,
it's interesting that for many of us, like what I've noticed, like when I first started my YouTube channel and when I started talking about being in a toxic job and I started talking about the harm of being in a toxic job, I've always said on my YouTube channel that my approach is never to just up and leave a job, right? I've never said that, right? I've always said my approach is to ideally that we plan to leave a job, right?
mhm.
We exit plan. And so over time, I've worked to have like different resources to help Black women exit plan to leave a job and have different resources about replacing your income and your benefits, right? So that's why I have all these different services. But what was interesting is, even though I have said this, Yolanda, so many times, the automatic thought that many Black women hear, even though I say that, right? I get this comment so much. Oh, you just want us to up and leave our jobs? We can't just up and leave our jobs, right? But I also heard you say, I can't just up and quit, right? So, can we talk a little bit about where do you think that came for you, right? So that thought of I can't just up and quit, right? A lot of us, where do you think that came for you? That thought I
To
can't just
say
up and quit.
to say that I can't do it.
Yeah. So
I
you were
mean, it's
saying that you,
embedded.
uh huh,
It's
hmm,
yeah, it's embedded. It's
yeah.
embedded for you to say up and quit means that you're a quitter.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and so
yeah, you're being
the thought
irresponsible.
yes, right? So if somebody brings up, maybe your daughter, your therapist, if anybody brings up the possibility of exploring the option of leaving a job, I think for many Black women, there's a fear response. Oh, you want me to up and quit? Right? And so people are not saying necessarily up and quit unless you're in immediate danger, right? Let's
Yeah,
have a nervous breakdown, you sick, right? So that's not what people are saying. But I think the fear response for many people, and I think for you too, was the perception that people are saying up and quit,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's not what was happening. So you took the leave of absence, you were in Spain. So can you walk us through how did you end up leaving the job and how did you end up leaving the country? How did that happen? That was a big leap.
So again, it was finding community through Exodus Summit, and doing my research.
Hmm.
Um, there was when I left the job, I felt like my kids are grown. I
Hmm.
had a dog and a cat. Well, the cat had passed away, but I had a dog. Um, Trying to figure out how to do this and not have like the overhead cost that was a concern. So that's when I found out about pet sitting. During the research of all this, I mean, I was my thing was take the job on the road and then do pet sitting. I could do that full time. I was figuring out that my one of my family members had agreed to take my dog while I got ready to go on this journey. But what happened was while I was in Spain for the month or whatever, and then I had to come back because it was so hard to not be working, even though, I was covered. I had some financial resources. I did go on leave. So I still had my health insurance. One of the concerns was of course, in the US, your health insurance and the quality of your health insurance is tied to your job. And if you leave that job, you get to be offered the wonderful health insurance anyways at some exuberant, crazy amount that you cannot afford through Cobra. So it was, I was able to keep, since I was on leave, I was able to keep my health insurance for, I think it was like 6 months while I was on leave. And I followed the protocol to qualify for certain things. I do want to back up and say one thing. Before you start, check what you're signed up for. Before you mention anything to anybody, check to see, because I did make a mistake. I made a mistake that I thought I was signed up for short-term disability, and I was not. And I didn't realize it until after I went on leave. I did not. And that hurt me. But the kicker was, the company that I worked for, they did not match 401k. So I had set up my own to be taken out separately. I didn't know that all this time, for like 2.5 years, that they were taking money out of my check and putting it into the 401k. That's where the mysterious money showed up that allowed me to actually leave. Okay.
Wow.
But I will say, check out all of your benefits before you make any decision. So I want to just stress that I did not just like up and be like, I don't care what happens to my life. No,
Right.
you do have to be strategic. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. We make wise decisions, right? Make
Yeah.
wise decisions. That was a really good tip. So Yolanda, you were on leave for how long?
Officially, I was on leave for technically, let me see, from October to February. And then
October.
after that, because of the circumstances of me leaving, I did automatically qualify for unemployment for a while.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, that was something that I did not, that, I learned. It was like, oh no. But I did have some financial resources set aside and everything. So I did not work, even though for the first 3 months, I did start looking for a job. And it took me a while to sit still and really listen. So I think I was maybe a month and a half before I really did sit still, because I went back to the States. I gave up my apartment and I did start pet sitting full time. Like I was very methodical with the pet sitting, so that and you have to be good at working your logistics, so that when I got back, I started pet sitting. I gave up my apartment, so I wasn't paying rent. I set aside a reserve of maybe $500 a month, so that if I needed to get an Airbnb or a hotel, I would do it. But I was very methodical. And then also I had my oldest daughter, and I had a very dear friend who I could stay with if I was in between. But for the most part, I think I was maybe 8 months into pet sitting full time 5 months into pet sitting full time before I had to actually get like an Airbnb. And I was upset. I was like,
Okay. Okay. So you were
yeah,
very strategic in that too.
yeah.
So after your leave was over, did you resign? Like what ended up happening with the job?
No, I made them let me go.
Okay.
Yeah, when my leave was over, they were like, "Well, now you need to like consider coming back." And just the idea of coming back into that, just okay. And please forgive me, y'all. If anybody knows me, sometimes I go squirrel, and so I'm going to stay focused here.
Okay.
But at one point, after I went on leave, the HR, I was in Spain, and HR contacted me because they didn't know where the files were, all the data that I kept. It was on a shared drive. It was someplace that if they ever paid attention to me, they would have known exactly where it was. But they called me and said, and I can feel my blood pressure rising up, because they were
Ooh.
like, this person just wants to know, my former manager wanted to know. They're like, they need to know where the files are and everything. And I said, why are you contacting me? And they said, well, because this is critical. I said, if I was in the hospital, would you call me?
Ooh.
If I was on life support, you would have to figure that out, wouldn't you? So you
Mm.
guys need to figure that out.
Wow.
And so they were like, well, we need this information. I said, well, try to call me again. So with it, so I
Okay.
felt myself, the tension was so much just for them reaching out to say something to me. And I was like, I cannot go back to that job.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And on top of that, I realized that as I'm maneuvering to other full-time jobs that have the chokehold, the honeymoon phase is getting shorter and shorter.
Mm.
because I'm realizing that I'm giving too much, and therefore I need to reevaluate how I want to work.
Okay.
And because of how I was living and how I was actually, again, pet sitting for a year and a half, I decided that I just wanted to accept contract work, and I did not start working again until May, and I started doing contract, and I loved it because I was perpetually in honeymoon phase.
I love
Yeah.
it, right? So you were like, okay, if I go back to another full-time job, it's going to be more of the
Hmm.
same. So it's going to be a
Yeah.
honeymoon period. It's going to be a short honeymoon period. So I'm going to work on my own terms. I'm going to do contract work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And so I was doing pet sitting, and then I went back to, there was something that was happening. Oh, there was going to be a meetup. There was
Mhm,
going to be a meetup in Lisbon, and I wanted to go back to Spain. So me and my sister, one of my sisters, we went to Spain, and then
mhm,
I did a pet sit in Rabat, Morocco,
mm.
and all these things. So I'm there in Spain, just visiting, and I just said out loud, I want to move here. Now, I mean, my daughter lives, was in Zaragoza. I was in Madrid. There was a Melanin Madrid picnic in Retiro Park, and about 60, it had been about 60 Black people, and it was just so beautiful. And I was like, I want to live here. And I swear, I guess God was like, that's all you had to say. There was a lady later on that evening, there was a lady, I said it, and she said, oh, you need to talk to my Spanish immigration attorney, Carlos. I was like, what? She's like, you need to talk to him. He might be able to help you. And I
Mm,
set up an appointment, and he explained what some of my options were. And because my son-in-law is Colombian,
mm,
there was some advantages to that situation that we were able to discuss, that I had options that I didn't realize.
mhm.
Um, yeah. And we had that meeting, and he said, okay, come back to me in a year with all your paperwork. I was like, I got to go back for a year? That year went by so fast, but I mean, I was on it. I was absolutely on it. I made sure I was able to get more contracts. I had also a consulting. So I do contract and consulting,
Mhm,
consulting, the 1099 contract, or just for
mhm,
short-term things, but also
mhm,
offering my services as a consulting accounts receivable management.
mhm.
So yeah, I just was utilizing that, and just getting more information, and staying in community was very, very important, because without staying in community, you could straight talk yourself out of doing it.
Okay, I have two follow-up questions. One
Hmm.
is, can you talk about contract work? Because one of my viewers actually emailed me and she was like, she's hearing Black women with all the layoffs that are happening. Black
Hmm.
women have been expressing concern about the jobs that they are getting offered are more contract jobs, not full-time jobs. And
Hmm.
Black women have been expressing concern about not getting full-time jobs and getting contract jobs. So can you explain maybe maybe some of the benefits of getting contract jobs?
Okay. So let me first say, contract jobs are not for everybody,
Hmm.
because of the fact that your insurance is tied to a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, and that
Mm-hmm.
is something that I did get, like, the whatever their version of the was it Affordable Act, Affordable Care,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
insurance, and all this stuff, which is still just horrible, because they're like, oh, you just have to meet the deductible annually of $7,000. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah. So it's not for everybody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. And so, but the contract is basically, I specifically would go on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, and look for something that was either temporary or contract, or an open-ended contract. I
Mm-hmm.
liked it because, again, I came in, I do accounts receivable, accounting overall, but accounts receivable is my focus. And I can come in and look at your numbers and look at the information. Everybody has their what they're good at. I'm good
Mm-hmm.
at accounts receivable, so I know how to come in and have expectations. This is what I need from you to improve your numbers, to
Mm-hmm.
address outstanding invoices. I need access to contracts and all that. If you are good and believe and know that you're good, you can come in and work on projects that might be anywhere. I'm not going to do less than 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
anywhere from 2 months, and it could be like a year. Some contracts go a year, 2 years. It can be
Mhm.
open ended. Contracts tend to pay more because usually you're not getting any benefits,
Mhm. Mhm.
so they do tend to pay more.
Okay.
Um, and the contracts that I was doing, they knew that I didn't necessarily say, like, I'm moving to Spain, but they knew that I did not have a home base, and that, like, you have a lot of people now, especially that may stay in the US, that might be RVing around the world, and they live out of their
Mhm.
RVs or things like that. So
Mhm.
I did stress that it has to be remote.
Hmm.
So usually contracts are more apt to the remote
Okay.
also. Yeah, that's
Okay.
one of the big things that I've noticed. Now, I have noticed, so my last contract,
Mhm.
I'm jumping a little bit forward, but my last contract before, like, it was quite challenging, ended. So I moved to Spain in April 2024. I came here, I just gotten my first big consulting job,
Hmm.
which was under because I have a company, Harper Will Consulting, that handles accounts receivable
Mhm.
management for companies, and so I came to Spain with that,
Mhm.
and it was a 6 month contract, and then that contract ended, didn't renew, and then we had. I had another assignment, just a regular contract, not consulting, through a recruiter or a headhunter that I worked with before, and I was there, and the contract ended on March 31st. Could not find another contract or consulting to save my life.
Wow.
It has been so challenging. The upside to it is, had I been in the States, I would have my money would not have gone as far.
Hmm.
The money that I had saved here in Spain,
Mhm.
um, um, I was able to live comfortably before I
Hmm.
started to get a little worried, like, oh Lord,
Mhm.
what's going on?
Mhm.
Okay. Because yeah,
Mhm.
the jobs, they disappeared. And the other problem that I was having with the contract, I was contacted, they're like, yes, it's 100% remote. And I'm like, okay, great. You just have to come in once a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's 100% remote. Oh, are you in the country? It's a contract job. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Okay. No, you have to be on US soil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there
Okay.
were all these little things. There's been situations where somebody was like, it's 100% remote. And when I said I was not, I was told that it was that when they were like, well, you still have to come in. And I'm like, I am not in the country, and you said 100% remote. And the lady said to me, well, you know that 100% remote really doesn't mean 100%. It's like, no, I'm taking you at what you're saying to me.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's changed a lot because a lot of employers feel like they can demand more and offer less. That is
Mm.
just the bottom line right now.
Mm.
But I thank goodness that, because I was almost tempted to come back to the US and just go ahead and get the a long-term contract job. Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know about full-time, although I was looking for that too. But I was almost, and I was like, girl, you are healthy. You can make it, you can weather it through this storm. You're gonna be okay.
Hmm.
It's hard sometimes to trust the process, but I did
Right.
trust the process, and I've made it through, and yeah, it's working out better now. I would have
Okay.
been miserable had I come back.
Got it. Okay. So that leads to my next question. That's the follow-up question. Okay.
Yes.
So prior to this, had you already been considering leaving the States?
Prior to me actually, like, finding out that I had options, yes, I thought.
Mhm.
So here's the thing. I thought, when I started really doing the deep dive, I thought I was going to be headed to Mexico. Okay.
Oh, well,
That's
let's take a step back from
Mhm.
let's take a step back, right? For
Okay.
people who are not familiar with Exodus Summit, let's kind of introduce Exodus Summit to people, right?
Okay.
So tell people what Exodus Summit is, and then tell the audience about what contributed to your thoughts about living abroad.
So, Exodus Summit is a community for Black women who want more. and they're burnout. Usually for the most part, Exodus Summit is for women that want to leave the United States. That's what it comes down to. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a full support community for wherever you want to move or bop around in the world. Okay. So whether you want to move and, set up a home base someplace else, or if you just want to, go bop around or country shop and stay 3 months in one country and then bop over to another, it opens you up and gives you full understanding of your options. Okay. And so I found a wonderful community there. I want to just add on one thing, because in our world, especially growing up, we were always pitted. Women were pitted against each other. And to have this wonderful community where we cheer each other on, there is the negative, like you shouldn't be doing that, or telling you that you're wrong or that you're less than or whatever, that is not allowed in our community. We are cheering you on because we believe that you don't have to live according to some status quo what society says that you're supposed to be doing. Okay. So did I clarify that? Okay.
So true. And I just want to just add the Exodus Summit was created by Stephanie Perry and Rashida Dow. And they have meetups all over the world, and really a space for Black women. It's for Black women to come together. So it's helping Black women move abroad. They do have a membership community, membership ASAP. So you can check that out online. I'll put that in the chat as well. But it really teaches Black women there's a whole different way to live, right? That we get breaks, we take sabbaticals, we can meet up, we can be in community, we can relocate. There's many options for us as Black women. So again, I'll put information about Exodus Summit and Exodus Summit ASAP in the chat. Okay, so tell us again, what were your thoughts about moving abroad?
I thought that was a pipe dream. Initially, I thought it was just some pipe dream that other people, that white people do, that, people with some great financial resources do. I did not know that it was even possible to dream. And even with my daughter, my youngest daughter, who moved to Spain in 2016, I still didn't see how that was possible for me. So when I first started doing the research about living a different type of way and not being stuck in an apartment that you're paying, almost $2,000 a month for, with, electricity and all this stuff. When I started doing the research, because I'm from Texas, Mexico was on my brain. It's like, let's see, Mexico sounds good. But I still hadn't done any hardcore. It was still just like something that I was just doing the light research on, because again, I didn't know that it was going to become real. And until I actually just happened to speak out loud, saying, I think I would love to move to Spain, I want to move here, that the conversation really got started. And I was like, well, I'm in. Let's do this. Yeah. So it was a long process, very doable, but again, it was a pipe dream that became reality because I was getting the information and knowing that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't reinventing the wheel. I wasn't the first person to do this. There's a lot of Black women that move to Thailand, to France, to Panama, to Mexico, to Spain. There's a lot of Black women that are moving intentionally and with purpose to not be bogged down by U.S. expectations or what they think, or what the world might think Black women should be doing. No, we're stopping all that.
What would you say to Black women right now? Like, let's say a Black woman was watching right now and she's watching all this stuff happening right now in the U.S. and she's like, whoa, I am concerned. Okay. What words of wisdom can you offer to her if she is watching this stuff happen in the US and she's in a toxic job? What words of wisdom can you offer to her?
I am not the type that's like, oh, get out now. I don't want to instill any kind of fear. I see what's going on. We all see what's going on. Know that you have options that you didn't even think that you had. Okay. Some of it, and also understand that you cannot please everyone. So please yourself. Okay. And I say it like that because there are so many people that are gonna, I thank goodness, I thank God that I had a wonderful support system, with, my adult daughters, my family, my friends, wonderful support. And if they had anything negative to say, they definitely didn't say it to me because I was moving. But I understand that sometimes your friends or family and maybe the most well-intentioned loved ones can talk you out of the joy that you see, that you're dreaming of. Just get some information, get in community with other Black women, other people, like-minded people that either are interested or have already made the moves, and get that support that you need to dream bigger. Okay. Yeah, that's the big thing. Um, it's scary. It's scary. It was scary in the situation.
Mhm.
It's scary, really, a lot more, even so outside looking in right now.
Mhm.
Um, I want women to know that you don't have to work yourself to death.
Mm.
It's not, for some reason in the US, I feel like it's a requirement that you are supposed to work, especially Black women, work and just be grateful.
Mm.
And that's it. And once you have that, the income, it doesn't matter the outcome of your health or your mental state. You got the income, be grateful. There's more to life than that.
Mm. Yeah. So, what have you noticed now that you're in Spain? What is their approach to work? How do they what how do they work?
Well, I'm sorry, how does the day in the life, or are you talking about their
How do
social?
how do they see work? Because like here, it's like a hustle and grind culture. Like,
Oh,
how do they work over there? What's their approach to work over there?
it's a balance. There is a balance. There's an expectation, and I still, because I do work for U.S. companies, so I still, even though I do have a right to work here in Spain, because
Mhm.
of the type of visa that I have, I it's still, it's a challenge to do that, and I have my U.S. clients,
Mhm.
with that expectation, but there is an expectation that you are allowed to enjoy life. It is. It's crazy. It's like I've had many women come through and visit me, whether I meet them in Madrid or in Zaragoza, and I've had some friends that are like, all these people out here just sitting around,
They
relaxing. What's going on? Don't
live a
they
life.
work?
What?
Yeah,
What's
it's
happening?
like, yeah, businesses strive, businesses flourish here, but there's also a hard line in the sand as far as when they will be working and when they will not be working.
Mm.
In Madrid, it's a little bit more relaxed because Madrid is a more tourist area. So like grocery stores in Zaragoza, there's only like one or two that are open on Sundays.
Mhm.
Okay, period. Most of the grocery
Mhm.
stores are closed on Sundays.
Wow.
Here in Madrid, there's more. Like right now, I'm actually on a pet sit. How I choose to travel is, when I want to go someplace else, I do still do pet sits. I just do them. I still have my home base now in Zaragoza, but I do pet sit. So I'm on a 3-week pet sit right now in Zaragoza. There's a grocery store that's right down the street. I was surprised, when on Sunday when I passed by, and I was like, oh, it's open today. Oh wow, that's, yeah. So people have their holidays. Oh my goodness, it seems like they have like 3 or 4 holidays a month. It's like, and they honor all of them, whether they are regional, local. There's always, somebody's always on holiday, and when they say holiday, that means like businesses shut down.
Mm.
They want you to spend time with your family. I just became
Mhm.
grandmother of a second grandbaby,
Oh,
just a few months ago, and
congratulations.
the father gets paternity leave that can be
Mm.
spread out throughout the year.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's different ways that they show that they care.
Hmm.
Um, that they want you to be healthy, that they
Mhm.
want you to spend time with the family. One of the things, because I've had a few, I'm building community definitely in Zaragoza. I find community wherever I am, but in Zaragoza, I created Black in Zaragoza. And
Mhm.
so there's some ladies that have moved to Zaragoza. And one of the ladies, I interviewed her recently, Kathy, she was saying, she's like, and I've noticed it too, just people walking down the street, holding
Mhm.
hands, young and
Wow.
old, Of course, Zaragoza and like Madrid is a walkable city. They have cars, but it's a
Mhm.
walkable city. But just to see people freely holding hands, fathers with their kids. My son-in-law, he picks up his my granddaughter after my oldest granddaughter from school almost every day.
Hmm.
He gets off work in time to get home to go and pick her up from school. So family is just so important, and
It's a
community
totally
is
different way of
important.
life, it sounds
Yes, yes, yes.
like.
And so,
Mhm.
and so I want to make sure I always share this. Has it been like roses and just peaches and just awesome all the time? No, 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 no,
Mhm.
no. Okay. There have been challenges with moving abroad
Mhm.
to another country.
Mhm.
But there is not one challenge that I have experienced that would encourage me to be like, but the US is still better just to be back in the US. Mm-mm. I
Mhm.
no.
So no
I
regret.
work,
No
yeah, no
regret.
regrets. There have been times when I've had the second guessing, like I said, when in the past few months when I was in 2025, when it was hard for me to find another contract
Mhm.
job, because yeah, I didn't come over here with a bucket full of money. I came over here
Mhm.
with some resources, but not I didn't have retirement money. No.
Mhm.
So there was times when I questioned and maybe second guessed and thought maybe
Mhm.
I need to, and then I'd be like, snap out of it. Okay, what are you talking about? So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I've made it through, and I feel like this is my God willing long term home base. Never say never, but right now this is my long term home base, and I enjoy. People have also asked me about how is it that you work for U.S. companies, and they're like, because you have to, because I work until I work U.S. hours. So
Mhm.
on some of my contracts, I was working, I'd start work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon here and finish working at midnight. So then I wouldn't go to sleep until like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And they're like, I
Mhm.
could never. Yes, you can.
Mhm.
Yes, you can.
Mhm.
You'd be amazed at how fast you can acclimate to whatever environment. And
Mhm.
yeah, and it's worked out great. Um, but the toxicity, I get it. I think about, again, I was in some survival mode for
Mhm.
most of my adult life.
Mm.
Coming out of survival mode just happened within the past 10 years.
Mm. So
So I
what's
get
the
it.
quality of your life now, Yolanda? What does your life look now in terms of the quality of your life?
I feel like I have value in myself. I have balance. I I still enjoy working. I also enjoy my like well right now it's just my oldest granddaughter, but I enjoy spending time with my grandkids.
Mm.
My oldest granddaughter, she's 4, she comes over, she spends the night, and or I will, like, if my daughter needs me to come over during the day, to maybe she wants to go to her swim class. She's doing swimming, not swim classes, but she's also taking like Chinese as a second language.
Oh.
She's learning Chinese. So I'll, like, one day a week, I'll go over there and take care of watch the youngest grandbaby while she goes to her class.
Mm.
I started taking sewing. I started sewing. I started taking a sewing class in Spain in Spanish. I don't speak
Okay.
good Spanish. So opportunity, there's a balance, and it's opened up for me how to work hard, play hard, be lazy, spend time with family, and also welcome community. I started, again, I do accounts receivable. I also started the Travel Buddy experience, where I actually go and meet female solo travelers who might be concerned about traveling by themselves around Spain. I meet them in Madrid or Barcelona or Zaragoza.
Okay.
It's a concierge. I know that there's many travel buddies out there. There's many travel buddy sites, make no mistake, and that's wonderful. But mine is actually a concierge service where I am actually here to help you feel comfortable and have a good experience in these cities. I have two right now. That's why I'm in Madrid for 2 weeks, because I have two bookings this week. Oh, excuse me, this time. And so
Excellent.
yes, yeah. So I'm finding the balance and stuff, but yeah, I still work, and it doesn't hurt. Again, I can sit down forever and be working on stuff, and my feet are not swollen anymore. My blood pressure is down.
Yeah.
I spend my how much do I pay a year in health insurance, private premium health insurance? 1,200 euro.
So a year?
1,200 euro a year. I'm a 56-year-old Black woman.
Wow.
1,200 euro a year, no premiums, no deductibles. Yeah, no, excuse me, no deductibles, no copays.
Wow, that's
Okay.
crazy. especially when we see what's happening in the US with the
Yes,
doubling of health insurance. Oh, that's crazy.
yes. And so,
Wow.
so
Wow.
there is a balance. Again, not easy all the time, but oh, so much better. And I
Mm,
appreciate it. I appreciate that I don't feel like I'm in a toxic environment, work or
mhm,
personally.
mhm.
You know, I always do this little comparison about that horrible, no good, toxic job. If that was a man, your family would be screaming for you to leave that man or leave that relationship.
Exactly.
And my daughters, they were, yeah, they were trying to tell. I didn't see it that way though. But yeah, if
Mhm,
it was a relationship that was treating me that bad,
mhm.
I would have recognized and been like, oh no, we're not doing this.
Right.
No, that relationship with that significant other would have stopped a long time ago. But yet,
Mhm,
with our jobs, it's amazing. We will put up with the equivalent of a bad relationship
mhm.
um, because of security.
And let's talk about that real quick, okay? Because there's so many parallels between an abusive job and abusive
Mhm.
relationships. So many parallels.
Yep.
And when you think about when you're in an abusive job, because it is abusive, it is traumatic. When you're in an abusive job and you're telling people this job is harming me, and they're telling you, I know all jobs are like this. I know, but it's better to stay with the devil you know than the devil you don't know. I
Hmm.
know, but girl, you better not leave because you're not gonna get nothing better. Or girl, if you leave, you're gonna end up homeless. You are now adding to the trauma. You're
Hmm.
adding to the trauma. So you are further adding to the abuse. And so we need to recognize as Black women, if you are telling people about what you're experiencing at that toxic job, that abusive, raggedy, what did you say? What did you call it?
Horrible, no good, toxic job.
Horrible,
Yeah.
no good job. If you're telling people about your experience and they're telling you, I know, but
Hmm.
stay there, right? And again, we're not saying just up and leave. That's not what we're
Yeah.
saying to you, okay? We're
No.
talking about exit planning to plan to leave, okay? So you can replace your income and that's what we're talking about, okay?
Yeah. What is
If
your exit
somebody
strategy?
Yes, your exit strategy. If somebody's telling you to stay, be mindful, have some boundaries, and you are not talking to those people
Hmm.
about you trying to go or whatever because they don't understand what you're going through and they are contributing to you staying in an environment that's continuing to harm you. You don't
Yes.
tell them your plan. You talk to people who will support you in trying to get out, okay?
Yeah.
That is not helpful for you. Just like Yolanda, you talked about being mindful if you're trying to relocate out the country, okay? And you
Hmm.
have people telling you, girl, what you trying to do? Every other country, it's what you trying to do? Those countries
Oh
are
my God.
dangerous.
Yeah.
What's happening in the United States? What's happening here? What are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're having that experience, maybe go to Exodus ASCP membership community. Okay.
Hmm.
With those people who can feed into you. It is not helpful for you to be around people or for you to share information with people who are going to project their fears onto you.
Yes.
Maybe talk to them about something else, but don't talk to them about something that you are very passionate about and you know they're going to just project their fears onto you. That is not helpful for you. It's not helpful for you. So just
Yeah.
use discernment about what information you share with what people and just think about, are they projecting their fears onto me? Is this constructive for me? Or is this about them? Is this about them? Is it about their issues? Or is this about me and they're really trying to help me? Just think about that, okay? Because
Yeah.
the people will project their fears onto you and will keep you stuck in environments that harm you, but you have to live your life. You're the one who has to go sit in that toxic, raggedy job all day. You're the one. You're the one. Your body is the one who has to withstand that terror every day. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So we talked about what we can do in terms of resources. Now, what about this, Yolanda?
Hmm.
Kind of alluded to it just now. Okay. So if there's a Black woman watching, we talked about options, right? But what if? she has family or friends who are like, girl, I'm gonna use Spain for example.
Okay.
Girl, I heard Spain is real racist. You know, you know, it's real racist. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. I heard they just that hurt. They treat black people real bad. What would you say to something like that? What would
How
you
you doing in
advise
the US
black
right now?
people?
How you doing in the US right now? Really? I am not by any means negating that racism exists around the world. Classism exists around the world. It happens. I have very much seen how I know with me being identified as an American, um, that's what they see. So I'm treated a different way
Mhm,
possibly than maybe some of the residents here in Spain and in Zaragoza that may be from Senegal or Ghana or Nigeria. I've
mhm,
seen it. I
mhm,
recognize it. I've
mhm.
given stank eye to some people, some locals and stuff when I've seen it. I can't speak much Spanish, but my stank eye is on point. Okay,
Okay.
so I recognize that. But to say that you don't want to come to or consider checking out or visiting or staying short or long term in another country because of something that somebody on some other channel or somebody's nephew of a cousin told you. No, that I encourage anybody that hears that to just redirect and find community, because I feel safer here. There is not a death. There is not a stare a racist stare that has a gun here.
Mm, mm,
So I feel safer. Now, I do always add this caveat because I know, especially like there's people that move here with their kids of different ages. They move all over the world. Some people are like, I can't do it because I have my child with this and stuff. That's a possibility. But I also express to people, to women, or to people that are moving here that please don't negate your experience or your child's experience of racism just because a gun's not being pulled or they're not being pulled over by a cop.
mm,
So recognize the concern, recognize the emotion and the experience, but also let them know that that they are safe, that they are overall in a safe place to be,
mm,
to breathe a little bit.
mm,
One of the things that many of us have talked about, whether it's me or other people, is the feeling of tension that leaves your body when
mm,
you're walking around anywhere outside of the US. Maybe not anywhere, but in a lot of places outside of the US, you don't have that tension, especially as a Black person. That tension kind of is relieved from your body. And I know every time I would be headed back from Spain, back to the US, as we were descending into Dallas, whatever, I can feel the tension just rising back up in my body. Just
wow.
knowing it's like the unknown. Like I didn't even recognize it until I realized that it was happening. I was like, oh, what is this? My blood pressure's going up. What's going on? Because you're landing back in the United States. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, with all that, I just say to encourage that, um, you know, again, nothing is just simple, but it's definitely better. And at least step out on your own, find the
Mm,
community, and then step out on your own to see what suits you best.
mm,
Whether it's, a lot of people have talked about going to Lisbon. I love Lisbon. I don't want to move there. But
mm,
some people have gone to different places. Maybe they just heard about it and then they get there and they're like, no, this is not for me. That's
mm,
okay. But you're
mhm,
exploring your options.
mhm.
That's what you're exploring, your options, and not just believing what someone told you about how it's horrible. And, because some people, I, I don't care about you staring at me stupid.
Right.
So my skin is thick enough that if you're staring at me because you're confused because why is this Black woman walking around all prideful, I don't care
Mhm,
about that.
mhm,
That's not going to hurt me, but it might be some PTSD for somebody else. So
mm,
I get that. But to not make a move because of what you heard about something,
mm.
that maybe you didn't want to make the move anyways,
Yeah.
and you're just
Yeah.
talking yourself out of it already.
Hmm. Hmm. And I also heard you say that you don't speak, so you're not fluent in Spanish.
I get by. So,
Okay.
so here's the thing.
Okay.
My daughter, who's lived here since 2016, I had her taking a second language since she was like, I think 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
So, and she also, her minor was in Spanish when she went to college. So she actually came here speaking Texas Spanish, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still different.
Mm-hmm.
I do better by myself versus when I'm with somebody that I know speaks Spanish, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to say hola if I'm with somebody else. Um, I completely forget how to communicate, but when I'm by myself, I'm it's coming to me little by little, or
Mm-hmm.
if necessary, I break out Google Translate. Also, my granddaughter's their first language is Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things that, I've had to, I mean, they speak English to me, or,
Mm-hmm.
my oldest one does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a learning, I'm learning, but I've never felt completely lost because I don't speak good
Okay.
Spanish. No.
So not knowing the language of somewhere you want to move doesn't mean you can't move there,
Oh,
right?
absolutely not.
Okay.
As long as, from what I've experienced, as long as they see I'm trying,
Mm-hmm.
and my big running joke is, to me, I feel like they look at me like the black I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball and stuff, because they're like, there's that zany American, because they see me trying, and I tend to get very expressive and make stupid faces and stuff when I'm confused. But so they seem to be very forgiving and understanding and gracious with me. They show me much grace. I
Okay.
think the entire time that I've been visiting and also living here, I think I've maybe had two people that, like, kind of, and they were older, that kind of really gave me like attitude because I didn't speak
Mhm.
Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So, okay. Okay. So as we're winding down, can you
mhm.
please share more about the service that you offer in terms of people want to come to Spain? Tell more about that and how they can contact you and also talk about your YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you. It has been such a joy. I love to share, yeah, my experience. I love to talk to other people in the community, and just spreading knowledge and insight, and hopefully giving, women hope. I hope this works. But yes, my YouTube channel, everywhere across social media, I finally got on TikTok, is Locating Cozy. So then that is my YouTube channel that I will be posting more regularly. I have like 184 videos up, so it's not like I just took some time off and then I was having some technical issues. But yeah, we're I'm on. I do post, I do share all the random things, and my travel service is the Travel Buddy Experience. So in the link there, I believe, if not the Travel Buddy Experience, there's Connect with Me, so that you can get to all the ways that you can meet with me if you want to. If you're coming to Spain, or you like really, really want to, but you're like, your Aunt Brenda don't want to come, so you're not gonna go. Come, come to Spain. I can meet you where you are. And the service is concierge because it provides you with the care to walk you through. It is not the standard, like, follow me and I'm going to take you everywhere really, really
Mhm.
fast. It is a leisure time where I am here with you to walk you through or show you around Spain the way you want to, not a way that you're being told to do it. Okay. So yes, and the goal is to empower you to make bold moves by yourself. You can start by landing here in Spain.
Awesome. Okay. So all of her information is in the description section of this video on YouTube. So if you're watching from somewhere else, LinkedIn or Facebook, you need to go to my YouTube channel, Lift Dance to Climb Consulting, to get her information. So I will read the community chat, and then we're still going to start winding down. As I mentioned
Okay.
before, you can also get the financial masterclass replay for Black women, which is going across the screen, also description section of this video. So if you're like, "Ooh, I've heard this video," and I'm like, I need to get abroad some kind of way, but I need to leave this toxic job, then you need to get the replay as well. Hello, Carla. Good to see you. So I'm going to shout out our members of this channel. So we have a butterfly membership community for Black women. So I'm going to shout
Oh,
out our members. So, hey, Carla. Good afternoon, ladies. Hello, hello. Current job so toxic, they didn't want to accommodate me while my toddler is currently in an ICU. Oh my gosh. So when I decided to return to work, they gossiped so much about me being back, and child is still in ICU. I'm so
Oh
sorry.
wow.
That is
Oh
horrible.
wow.
What you're describing is vicarious trauma. First, I want to say to the person who said whose child is in ICU, I really am sending you hopes for your child's recovery. And I'm sending you words of support. You know, that sounds extremely stressful. And I'm very sorry that you're going through that. Yes. And in terms of the vicarious trauma, you know, right now, and I would just say for this whole year, that many of us have been going through vicarious trauma. So, vicarious trauma is, it's not directly happening to me, but I'm witnessing trauma. And I would say we are witnessing trauma every day.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not living in the United States, you are hearing or you're seeing about what's happening in the United States, and that is trauma. Okay, vicarious traumatization. Yes, so we got Gen X in the house. So a lot of us have been raised in that way. You get that good job, you stay there, you okay. And we have to say, okay, that may have been how I was raised, but I reject that. Like that is not how I want to
Yeah.
live. Okay. I'm a Gen X millennial, and mother thinks the same way. Your family was experiencing vicarious trauma, observing and listening to you being traumatized. Yes, exactly. And you know what, too? For
Mm-hmm.
me, I don't know if you did this too, Yolanda, but like for my children, from actually my family, you know, who lives with me, I have apologized to them about who I was when I was at that toxic job, and that
Mm.
um, um, just the choices that I made in terms of staying there when they were saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Please leave, please leave." But I've apologized to them, you
Oh
know,
wow. Okay.
you know, for them to be able to see me now as a totally different person, um, is it gives me such joy for them to be able to see this is how I used to be, but this is how I am now. Um, but it you know it hurts me to know that they went through this pain with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You
Um,
know,
yes.
I have to say I see that my daughters see the lighter side of me. They see the
Mhm.
joyous side of me. They see the unburdened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And my daughter, I can see like just spending time with my grandkids or whatever and stuff. And my daughter, had made the comment, that, it's like, man, you're really good at this. You're really
Yeah.
good. Cause it's like, there's just this lightness and, I enjoy the childlike quality time with
Yeah.
my granddaughter, and I'm not letting other, I don't care if there are other issues going on. I'm not letting that impact my joy now.
True, true. And you know, it's interesting too. Like now, I'm very intentional about things, and like now, my kids, now my kids even call me Harriet Tubman. They're like, "No, you did your thing. Like you were Harriet Tubman. Like you liberate people. Like you liberate people now, right?" And so, like now, for me, joy is very intentional. You know, like I do things like I go out in my garden, and you know, like as I was pivoting out of that job, like we got a dog and we named her Joy. So I'm like, I wake up now every day to joy because I used to
Yeah.
wake up every day in dread, and now I wake up to joy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just very important for us to also repair ways that our relationships may have been harmed from being in a toxic job too, you
Yeah.
know? Yes, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel and Yolanda's channel
No
and
Katie
to like
Cozy. You
this
too.
video. Yes, like this video as well. Hey, Danielle. Let's see. We believe that we can't up and quit, but they will certainly up and fire us. Yes, that's
Yes.
true. These jobs are not all unstable. Yes. So again, quote Stephanie Perry, what she say? These jobs ain't loyal. They're not loyal,
Mm-mm.
right? So sometimes we're like, oh, I gotta stay at this job. Girl, that job will up and quit you in a moment. Not even think about you in a millisecond. Okay.
Yep.
So we're thinking, oh, I gotta stay here. They will without a second just thinking about you. Okay. So we gotta
Can I share?
again think about our backup plan because they ain't thinking about your backup plan. Yes.
I just wanted to share something. I shared this with another with Krishan from Black Global a few months
Uh-huh.
ago. Um, Let me tell you how bad. these jobs don't care. At my last horrible no good job, they had legal counsel that left the company, and 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later, I think 2 months later, he passed away. And the
Mhm.
person that I reported to, we were getting ready to have our meeting, and he just said, "Oh yeah, such and such passed away." And I was
Mm.
like, "Oh my goodness!" And he said, "Yeah, he wasn't a very good worker." And then proceeded to start on with the meeting with me. And I
Wow.
was just like, "That's what you got to say about the legal counsel that left and 2 months later passed away? Are you serious?" Yeah, they don't care.
Wow. Wow. And I remember this quote that the anti-HR lady said, and it always stuck with me. She said, and I'm a paraphrase it. She said, why would we uh what did she say? Why would we kill ourselves for a job that would not close their doors for one day in our
Oh
honor,
yeah. Oh yeah.
right? So why are we doing this? Why are we doing
Yeah.
this? So we have to be mindful of that. Like, what is our priority? What is our priority? Our priority, I hope, is our own well-being and our family's own well-being too, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. You're talking about the evolution from generic work from home to the more specific work from anywhere. Excellent conversation. Thank you, Carla. Um, Now, this comment, I want to respond to this. Okay, so this person said, you should have told him where the files were. Now, this channel, and I've said this before, this channel is not a channel for us to um, have negative comments about Black women. Okay,
Don't
so
care.
going back to what Yolanda chose to, that's what she chose to do. So making comments about what she should have done back then,
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, how is that helpful now? It's not helpful right now. Okay, so I don't know. Hey, Dr. O, good to see you. Good to see you. And Dr. O, I spoke to the comment that you comment asked about in relation to contract job compared to full time. Okay, so I asked about that, and we're going to have a guest on talking about contract compared to full time job. So we're going to have that coming up soon. Good afternoon. I'm enjoying the conversation, Dr. Kamani and Yolanda. Good. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay,
Thank you.
everyone. So thank you so much for watching. So again, remember to subscribe to Yolanda's channel, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video with at least 2 other Black women. Comment, continue to comment on YouTube. Get your financial masterclass replay if you haven't already gotten it. And Yolanda, I'm going to give you the last word. Any last words you want to share with the community?
How are you locating your cozy?
Ooh, okay, okay, okay. And
What are you doing that's just for you?
yeah, what are you doing just for you? Okay. And I just want to say to Yolanda, thank you so much for being my guest. And thank you for sharing with Black women through your own example of that we have options. We have options not only about making money, but we have options about where we're going to live. Okay. I want us as Black women, as difficult as things are, I want us to be mindful that we have options. We have options. Be mindful of paying attention to our options and be mindful of agency. Okay. That with all that's going on right now, it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel like we have no control over what's happening. We have control of ourselves. Okay. So agency is what is it that you have control over, right? If it's what time do you get up each day, it is what do you do to structure your day, it is what do you do to bring yourself joy. Okay. Think about that. You need to focus on that right now, especially during this time of the emotional roller coaster. Okay, so keep that in mind. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye bye.